Welcome back, Gundam guys and Gundam gals. Patrick Grade here from GGInfiniteNews.com, bringing you my second review for a Revoltech figure. This time number 31 in the Sci-Fi Revoltech series, the War Machine. This came out in early October, I believe, and retails for around 3,500 yen. On the front, we see a nice stoically posed War Machine with some red light coming from behind. It's a very nice simple pose and a nice box cover. This is of course a Marvel figure, or Marvel character from the Iron Man 2 movie. On the sides, just your typical information for the series and the gentleman who sculpted it, and this is the second or third Iron Man figure that Revoltech has put out, I think. On the opposite side we see the revolver joint information. Nothing too fancy on the top. On the bottom we see some more detailed information about the revolver joint, as well as the aforementioned yen price and UPC code. On the back here we can see some detailed product information shots and gimmick shots. Looks like the figure comes with several popcorn blasts here that attach to the barrels. And he has a minigun and the little gun belt, the ammo belt, and all that kind of good stuff. On the inside of the front flap here we see some movie information about War Machine, some nice pictures of him and Tony Stark battling some drones and stuff. And I can't read this information here, so I don't know what it says. And over here on the window we see the figure itself, as well as some of the accessories and a nameplate and stuff. So let's open up and take a look. We got the lid on top here that holds everything in place. Stamps in there very securely. So we have the ammo belt that attaches from the backpack to the minigun. Some little effects parts here for the gun barrel blasts. We have two smaller ones and one larger one. We have a couple extra sets of manipulators here, a nameplate and a goodie box. Here's a look at the minigun. We have two different revolver joints here. One that attaches to the backpack and one between the arm and the minigun itself. So that should allow for some decent posing and range of movement. And we can see in the barrel here it has a little hole to put in the blasts, or the big one here. So this is one of the blast effect parts. Looks like a very spiny Cheeto. It's not clear, it's painted the yellow and dark orange, but it has some nice detail and variances in color there. The only difference between the small and the larger version besides size is that the smaller ones don't have a peg to attach to the areas. So it must attach to some barrels or something here, so you can't put this one on the minigun, but you can put this one on there. And like I said before, we have two of the smaller effect pieces. And here's a look at the open hand set of manipulators. It's flat black with a little white paint application there for the repulsor area. Kind of neat. And here's a look at the second of three sets of manipulators. This one's an open hand, but the fingers are close together, not splayed apart. So this is more of a flying Superman pose kind of hand. Pretty simple. And here's a look at the clenched fist hands that come installed on the figure when you open it up. Nothing too fancy going on there. And of course the War Machine gets his own nameplate for display purposes, as well as the standard Revoltech goodie box here to hold your extra bits. Let's take a close look at the figure here. Starting at the head, we see some decent paint applications here for the red in the eyes, with a little bit of overspray there. some nicely molded detail all around. We have a double neck joint, one in the upper, just below the head, and one down inside the torso there. On the arms, we have, each arm has a shotgun or some kind of rifle attached to the forearm. As far as articulation goes, the elbow bends about that far. The wrists are also on a small Revoltech joint, and the hand guards here aren't on a joint, but they kind of flop around because they're on a plastic connection there, so they're a little bit of movability. The shoulder is on a single Revoltech joint down on the torso, but the shoulder pad is on its own little joint there, so you can get that thing out of the way. Same with this side. And the two guns on the forearms are mirror images. Nothing going on in the backpack as far as moving parts or anything. Just the attachment point for the minigun and the ammo belt. We can see there's a couple series of Revoltech joints in the torso here, in the upper ab area, just for an ab crunch, and a big joint here between the torso and the waist. And there's a segmented piece here that's separate, just kind of free floating in between the two joints there. So that's kind of a cool effect to show the armor moving around. Adds a little realism there. In the waist joints, waist is kind of weird. The legs are on which looks to be a similar a joint that's similar to like a 3.75 inch figure, just a rotating part there, but below the waist joint, if you take the leg off here, you can see what I'm talking about. So there's a Revoltech joint here, and this little flap that kind of pegs into, and it doesn't really go in there securely, just closes up that gap. And it's cool for providing a sense of realism so that you don't see like a big joint there, but it kind of hinders the side-to-side twisty movement. You can't really get it the upper leg to swivel out to help with balancing. So I don't know if that's really a good thing to have. It seems like it might look a little weird without it there, but it's definitely a hindrance in posing. And you can see the joint here at the bottom is just a little swivel joint, no revolver joints in there or anything. The thigh pad is on a revolver joint, and it flops out there. The knee bends more than enough, a complete collapse there, 180. And the ankles go forward and back quite a bit, but the ankle guards don't allow for any side-to-side movement or side-to-side twist movement either. So that could be a problem when it comes to posing. I'm really impressed with the size of the figure. I was expecting more of a Marvel Universe size, but he's actually the same size as the War Machine 6-inch Hasbro figure that came out when the movie was first released. So I was impressed by the size of the Revoltech figure. There's definitely a weight issue. The top is way more heavy and cumbersome than the bottom. The legs are kind of flimsy. Not flimsy, but they're not heavy enough to hold the bulk of the upper body to get on the ground very much. So it's kind of hard to get him to pose too well on the ground, and there's no attachment points for an action base, or at least the standard Revoltech action base. So you need one of those little Figma things that grip him from the side to get him up in the air. And attaching the minigun in the back here, we see we have plenty of posability there. Pretty much a free 360-degree movement on both joints. So that's pretty nice. On some of the Hasbro figures, this assembly would slide from side to side. but this one does not. But I guess since it has that joint there, you don't really need to have that feature. Alright, so even with the ammo belt attached, you still get a free range of movement. The ammo belt's real soft plastic and malleable, so it doesn't hinder the posability of the minigun there at all. And you can see on the forearm guns, the barrels come out enough to attach the painful Cheetos here. And the guns just peg into place, so you could take them off if you want to, or put them back. So with the effect parts on, you get the impression that he's shooting at everybody around him, hopefully hitting his targets. So that's kind of cool. And they're not very heavy at all, so they don't add any kind of weight issues to the joints or anything. And the shoulder pads are on nice joints. They really get out of the way and allow for upper arm movement. The only thing that I really see wrong with this kit, or this figure, is the balance issues. They needed to make the legs heavier or more sturdy to hold up the weight of the upper body. But I like there's a lot of good markings. You know, the military-esque serial numbers everywhere and everything, so it's kind of cool. And I think it's painted really well, even though it's a simple color scheme. But there's a lot of good molded detail and interesting things to look at. The waist bend and the free-floating armor piece is pretty cool in the center there. And the arm can fall off just fine. And also the Revoltech joints are hidden really well. You can only kind of see it in the back of the knees and a little bit in the elbows. But these blend in just fine with the paint scheme. And these stick out a little bit, but that's not a big deal. So this is an excellent representation of the War Machine figure. If you weren't able to pick up the Hasbro 6-inch guys that came out a little while ago in Walmart, or they're also re-released them now in the Iron Man animated series or something, there's some figures you can buy in stores. The 6-inch guys, which is awesome. I like the 6-inch a lot more than the 3.75-inch figures. But if it just wasn't for if it wasn't for the balance issues, this would be a perfect figure, I think. You can still pose it just fine. It just takes some messing around with. And the hindrance here in the hip joints. So all in all, I think this is a very nice Revoltech figure. The only issue that I have is the balance. The upper body is way too heavy for the lower body. And it kind of sucks that there's no attachment points for the Revoltech action base, so I need to get one of those Figma guys or something like that to hold them up. Otherwise, it's a great sculpt, nicely colored, a good size, you know, a nice big tall figure, some good articulation, and just a great figure all around. Just be aware that there's the balance issues, and the lower body is kind of hit and miss with articulation and stuff. So this has been Patrick Grade with the review on the Revoltech War Machine. Thanks a lot for watching. Please leave me a comment or like. Let me know what you like about the video, or tell me what you don't like. I'm always up for suggestions and criticisms. And please subscribe to my channel and be on the lookout for a lot more upcoming videos, thanks to Gundam Guy and GGInfiniteNews.com. So thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time.